Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles, minister, hypnotist, and the guy who shows you how to get help from the other side. The other side being the mental and spiritual worlds, but you access them through your unconscious mind, which is the greatest goal-achieving mechanism ever evolved. You don't have to stay stuck or ill or be unhappy, because there is a power that can help. Well, today I want to talk about how things seem to be getting worse. There's actually a popular term for this created by Cory Doctorow in his book entitled, and I kid you not and apologize for the not safe for work language, he calls the book Ensh, why everything suddenly got worse and what to do about it. The idea is that people just will not leave well enough alone, and they will keep tinkering with things that are basically working. The end result is that often, not always, but often, that tinkering makes things worse. Back in the early days of the personal computer revolution, and I was there with a first-generation IBM PC, we referred to good software that companies had messed up as bloatware. Companies not happy with having sold you the original software wanted to keep you upgrading so that they could make more money. To motivate users to upgrade, they kept adding features until a lean, quick, useful program became bloated, complicated, slow, and error-prone. Back then, we all used to complain about this. Stop adding features we don't need was the battle cry, and the software companies roundly ignored it. I had this experience with some of the platforms, the software platforms that I relied on. Look, I don't need my to-do list software to have a section that would allow me to edit my website. I don't need my email program able to do spreadsheets, and on and on. This is why these days I try to do as much as possible with the native applications that come with the operating system of the computer. I use Apple computers, and fortunately the applications that Apple gives you with their operating system are actually pretty good. Here's a story. As an example, I used to use a plain text database as a way of storing information that I knew I might need later. I used Evernote, InfoSelect, and some others, but they kept getting more and more complicated and slower and slower. I found myself replacing perfectly good computers with faster machines just so my software would run at a decent speed. Then one of the companies that made a database that I needed went bankrupt. Don't worry, the company said. Your data is safe. However, if you wanted it in a format that lets you move it to another program, well, you had to buy your own data back from the software company. And that was when I decided I would not do this ever again. Now, as I said, fortunately, the native applications that come with most modern operating systems are pretty good. I replaced my text database with Apple Notes, and it works reasonably well, does what I need. It isn't top-heavy with features I don't need. And I know that Apple will always give me an upgrade path to future versions, so my data is safe. And Apple isn't going to tell me that I can only have my data if I buy it back from them. The tendency of software companies to keep adding features, trying to lock you into their products, continues until the end result is that the program ceases to be really useful. What was once a fast, helpful program becomes a slow, bloated monster, and shitification. But there are other ways. For example, in 2019, the Google antitrust case litigation showed that Google, as a company which had a 90% market share in search engines, was starting to make their own search features less effective deliberately. That way you had to make multiple queries when setting up a search. Why? Because Google had embraced the payola model. That is, they sell ads. If you want your website to show up at the top of a search list, you have to pay them. And if the people who are looking for you have to search repeatedly, well, they end up looking at more and more ads, which is what Google wanted, but at the price of taking a piece of software, a search engine that was fast and effective, and making it less fast and less effective. Well, when you fire up a search engine because you're looking for something, seeing lots of ads isn't what you're after, but it's what you get these days. Enshitification. And companies are still at it. The latest enshitification of modern life is something companies are calling dynamic pricing. That is, when a merchant tries to sell you something, there isn't just one price for it. They adjust the price automatically based on what they think the traffic will bear. You order something and the website looks at your purchase history. They see that you favor high-end or luxury items, and so they up the price of the product you want to buy now. If you want to get a hamburger at a fast food drive-thru, the price may vary with the time of day. One price for most times, a higher price for lunchtime. And shitification. If you go on Amazon.com looking for a product, you will see a list of search results at the top of your screen. However, research has shown that the entire top row shown to you will have prices that are about 25% higher than products listed lower down. The best deals are often buried to at least page 2. Your internet service provider starts out giving you a fast connection, but then they bring out a faster tier above that and they start to throttle or slow down the level you're at. So you need to upgrade. Cory Doctorow, in his book, talks about a finance maxim called Stein's Law. If something can't go on forever, it will stop. Now, that seems like common sense, but what it means is that one can only push prices so high before demand collapses as people decide that it's not worth what you're charging for it. Well, to me, this creates an opportunity to fight back against enshitification. What I personally do is to take refuge in my preference to be something of a minimalist. I have only what I need, but I get it in the best quality I can afford, so it will last. Therefore, I need to shop for stuff less than most people because what I have is durable. Because I'm working with lean computer apps that are not bloated, I can manage my computer use without having to pay a premium. So I give less of my money to greedy merchants, and I find that works well. Now, obviously you can't do this for everything. You need gas to run your car, and you have to pay the going rate for it. Ditto for food. But there are also ways to address some of this. I don't drive if I can walk. I deliberately brought only as much house as I could easily afford to maintain, so I don't panic when a repair is needed. Intelligent minimalism is my solution to the phenomena of enshitification. So spend some time thinking about how you might address this in your life. And thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject. If you're wondering if I can be of help to you, consider working directly with me. We can work in person or online. Feel free to reach out through my website for a complimentary, no-obligation discovery call, and always use the full power of your mind, because you deserve it.